You meet someone new. It takes less than a second. Before they finish saying hello, your brain has already decided something about them. You don't feel it happening, but it already has. This isn't politeness. It isn't small talk. It's older than language itself. Think about the last time you shook a stranger's hand or locked eyes with someone across a room. You probably thought you were being neutral, open-minded, waiting to learn who they really are. But the real answer is far stranger. Your brain had already built a verdict before your conscious mind even joined the conversation. Here's what's actually happening underneath. In the year 2000, a psychologist named Alexander Todorov ran an experiment at Princeton University. He showed people photographs of unfamiliar faces for just 1/10 of a second. A blink. Less than a blink. Then he asked a simple question. Do you trust this person? Do they look competent? Do they look aggressive? The answers were remarkably consistent. Strangers, looking at strangers, for 1/10 of a second, agreed with each other again and again. Something in the human brain was rendering a judgment faster than thought itself. Faster than you could ever catch it happening. Why would a brain do that? Why would it rush to conclusions about a face it has never seen before? Go back further. Long before courtrooms, long before job interviews, long before dating apps, your ancestors lived in small bands on open land. A stranger walking toward camp was not a curiosity. A stranger was a question with life or death stakes. Friend or threat. Ally or danger. There was no time for careful analysis. There was no HR department to run a background check. There was only a face, approaching, and a decision that had to be made in an instant. The humans who paused too long to think it over sometimes didn't get a second chance. The humans who read a face quickly and reacted survived to pass that skill forward. Generation after generation, that fast judgment machine got sharper. It became something you now carry around without even asking for it. You inherited that machine. It's still running. Right now, in every elevator, every interview, every first date. Here's where it gets even stranger. This split-second judgment doesn't just happen with faces. It happens with almost everything about a person. In 1992, two researchers named Nalini Ambady and Robert Rosenthal ran a study that has become one of the most quoted findings in social psychology. They showed people silent video clips of college professors teaching. Just a few seconds each. No sound. No context. Then they asked viewers to rate how effective each professor seemed. The ratings from those few silent seconds nearly matched the ratings that professors' own students gave after an entire semester of classes. A few seconds. No sound. Matching a semester of real experience. Ambady and Rosenthal called this thin slicing. The idea that your brain doesn't need much information to build a surprisingly accurate, or at least surprisingly confident, impression of another person. A tilt of the head. The rhythm of a gesture. The set of someone's shoulders as they walk into a room. Your brain grabs these thin slices of behavior and stitches them into a story before you've said a single word to each other. You are doing this constantly. You are doing it right now, imagining the people in your own life. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If your first impression forms in under a second, what does that mean for the people who never get past that first second with you? There's a name for what happens next, and it isn't flattering. Once your brain builds that fast first impression, it doesn't stay neutral. It starts hunting for evidence to confirm itself. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, and it works quietly, in the background, shaping every interaction that follows. If your gut told you someone was cold, you'll notice the one flat tone in their voice and forget the 3 times they smiled. If your gut told you someone was warm, the opposite happens. You forgive almost everything. The Yale psychologist John Bargh spent decades studying how much of human behavior runs on autopilot like this. His research on automaticity showed that people are influenced by tiny, almost invisible cues, without ever realizing it. Holding a warm cup of coffee can make you rate a stranger as a warmer person. Reading a handful of words associated with old age can make you walk out of a room more slowly, without noticing you slowed down at all. Your conscious mind likes to believe it's the one driving. Most of the time, it's simply approving decisions that were already made somewhere else, seconds or even minutes earlier. So what do you actually do with this? You can't switch off the ancient threat detector in your skull. It's not a bad habit. It's structural. It's wired into the same architecture that once helped your ancestors decide, in half a heartbeat, whether the figure at the edge of the firelight was kin or danger. That machine isn't going anywhere. But you can catch it in the act. The next time you meet someone and feel an instant pull of like or dislike, trust or suspicion, notice that the feeling arrived before the evidence did. Notice that your brain has already started building a case file on a person you know almost nothing about. That noticing is the only real power you have over an instinct this old. You cannot outrun it. You can only learn to see it working. Think about the people who misjudged you in that first second. The interview that went sideways because of a nervous laugh. The friendship that almost didn't start because of an awkward first hello. Somewhere on the other side of every one of those moments was a brain doing exactly what yours does. Reading a thin slice of you and mistaking it for the whole story. And think about the people you may have misjudged the same way. The reserved coworker who wasn't cold, just tired. The overly confident stranger who wasn't cocky, just anxious and covering for it. Your ancient threat detector doesn't know the difference between real danger and simple unfamiliarity. It just knows unfamiliar, and unfamiliar has always felt a little bit like risk. You meet someone new. It takes less than a second. And now you know what that second actually is. Not a flaw in you. Not a failure of judgment. It's 10,000 years of survival, quietly doing its job, whether you ever notice it or not.